Before we start adding details to our wall section, I want to set up our views. The idea here is to kind of compare and contrast the idea of an actual drawing, technical drawing section cut with that of what our model gives us as far as information. So we're going to go through and set up this sheet now. So I'll close that off. This is our drawing that we left off on. It might be modeled like that as we left it. But in preparation for actually including as a technical drawing, we're going to turn it back to hidden line rendering. And we're going to go ahead and create a new sheet. So I'm going to right click here, grab a new sheet. We'll use the standard Autodesk sheet. We'll wait while that constructs that, and we'll go ahead and drag our building section on. And the first thing we see we have to do is adjust the scale so it'll fit. Right now it's at 1 inch to a foot. So I think we could just take that down to 3/4 probably, and that will fit fine. And we still have some ideas of alignment of our title block. So typically what I do is I just delete it and drag it on again, and it'll reset that drawing title. And we'll leave it here so we can put some annotation around it. And then the other idea is to bring in that 3D actual model of our building. So I'm going to click into that model, and we're going to use our crop box to kind of cut through the building a little bit. So I'll just pull these all tighter, and then I'll zoom in a little bit. And I'm just trying to trim it off so it's something pretty small. And you'll notice I pulled that trim line back just so it got rid of that bit of the roof condition that looks a little strange from the crop box. And we have a little more window we probably would like to show, and a little less of the rest of the house. And that gives us a pretty good crop. And I'll bring this one in because that'll bring those section lines in tighter too. So there we have it, and I can tell that already our scale is too large, so let's go ahead and change our scale on this drawing. And we'll try to make it match, see if it matches with the other one. We'll go to 3/4. And we'll drag it onto our sheet. So we'll go to our sheet, and we'll drag that view on. And it looks pretty good. Seems we've got a little bit of a problem with something else in the viewing area that causes the title block to be a little bit large. Let's see, I'm going to double click into that. I'm not really seeing anything, but what I would like to do is actually just hide the section box. So I'll go hide in view by element, and our section box is gone. And then I'll deactivate this view. I activated it by double clicking on it, and now I'm going to go ahead and deactivate it by right clicking and deactivating the view. And then we can try to make a little adjustment to this title bar. So I'll just move it over. You need to then click on the drawing, and you get a little highlight of the adjustment bar. And there, we're pretty well started with making this look shipshape. So I'm going to click off of that one. What I think might be going on, I'll double click into this. I think our annotation crop might be, nope, that doesn't seem to be the problem. I don't know why we have that big crop box the way we do, but I won't worry about it for now. So I'm going to just deactivate the view, and we'll come over here, and we'll get rid of the crop region on this one. And that's about what I'm thinking would be a good presentation for this sheet. The only thing is, I think I would like to, let's turn the crop region on. I think that might be what's showing here. Yeah, that's it. So let's adjust this crop region a little bit, because I'd like to close up on the shadow as it extends into the drawing a little bit there. So we'll just pull that all a little bit tighter. And then I'll turn off the visibility of that crop box. And once again, right click to deactivate the view. And zoom extents. So that's kind of where I think I'd like to see our drawing look for presentation. And we can start to bring in just a couple of the extra elements that we want to start to build up the details here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go right to the section of this drawing. I'm going to go to the actual drawing itself. And we'll zoom in and start looking at the kind of details we want to add to things. Like right now we have no details on our floor because it's just a generic value. So let's do the same kind of thing that we had done with the walls, with defining some of the surfaces that might construct that. So I'm going to go ahead and edit that type. And right again, I'm going to duplicate it. And we'll call it floor. And we'll call it first floor, I guess. And we'll go ahead and edit its structure. We'll make it out of a, let's say we'll use 2x10 rafters. So we'll go 9.5 for the 2x10. And then I'm going to insert a top 2 layers. So we'll actually add a 3/4 inch plywood. That, and then some other surface. So let's just try to make it even numbers. So I'll just make this a 1/4 inch. That would be like the top flooring material. I'm thinking maybe we'll just leave this off. No, that'll give us, I'm sorry to be thinking out loud, that'll give us 10.5 inches, and then with our stud to support it, that will give us our full 12-inch buildup. So I'm going to click OK on that for now. We'll come back and add some materials to that in a minute. I just want us to see what that looks like. So what we have here is the 2x10 joist, the 3/4 inch floor deck, and then a very thin, like pergo or laminated floor covering. And all of that's intended to bring this up a certain amount from the top of the foundation, which will allow us to put a 2x6 piece of timber in here. So in the case of adding these ideas of the cross sections of the lumber that we see that make our joist up, and that whenever we're looking at them from the end view, we do that in these drawings now as an annotation by adding a component, and we add a detail component. And right now, if I was to go through and look at the detail components, we don't have any dimensional lumber. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Insert, and we're going to load a family. And we'll step back out of where we were. We'll go back to detail items. And I think this will come under wood and plastic. And then wood framing. And we want to do a section cut of nominal lumber. So I'm going to double click on that. And we want to pick up all of the 2x. So we want to grab a 2x4. I wonder if we just select all here. Now let me just see here. I'm going to hold on the Shift key and grab all of these all the way up to 2x12. And click OK. And now we'll have those available. So I'm going to go back to Annotate, and I'm going to drop in a detail component. And in this case, we get a 2x4 showing up, but what we really want is a 2x6. And I'm just going to drop it on the drawing here, and then go ahead and rotate that 90 degrees so it's lying flat. And I'll move it into position. So there we have the idea that our stud now is sitting on a sill plate. And we have a bunch of other little elements that we need to start putting in as far as the lumber, and then we'll look at some other constructions. So right now we need this end, what's called a rim joist. I don't expect you to really necessarily concern yourself with all of the details, other than this is how we're showing this kind of a section detail of lumber with a little cross through it. We're going to put another component in. That'll be a 2x10. And I'm going to place that right there. And then our floor deck and everything can go and extend over that. So now we have the start of our arrangement of elements there. And we're going to do a lot of the similar things here. So I'm just going to copy. I'm going to just do a few copies and move. I'm going to grab this. And I'm going to copy and move it up, because we would have this piece of lumber sitting underneath the window, except I'm going to give it a little bit of a gap. I'll come down a 1/2 inch. There's usually the idea of shimming between the rough framing, and we're going to do that up above too. And the other thing we need to do is put what are called headers up above this element, and so we'll go ahead and do that by copying this up. And I'll move it down until it touches the top of the window, and then I'll just bring it up just a 1/2 inch. Like I said, that idea of a rough opening. And then these are typically double headers, and in this case what we'll do is we'll move it to the front side so we create a gap. There are a few different ways to do that, but we'll pull that one to the front so that to indicate a header over that construction. And I think that's a good start for starting to build up some of these section details. I think maybe the next thing I'll show you is just to putting in the insulation. We'll go back to annotate, and we'll grab the insulation tool. In this case, we're going to put it in the wall joist, so this is the symbol for insulation, so I'm going to make it 5.5 inches. And we won't get a good, well, I guess we will. There's the center of that stud, and I'll just pull that up, and you'll see how we've drawn some insulation. And we'll pull this down. And so we've started now detailing the insulation that goes in the wall. Now there's a bit of an issue here with this element. We want that to be in the front, so we'll go ahead and bring that to the front. And that'll hide the insulation that's behind it. And that'll be a technique we'll be able to use repeatedly to control which elements show and which elements do not show. So I'm going to end this clip, and we'll pick up on some of the other types of details in the next section.